For this acting joyful meditation, we're going to practice coming into the present and becoming aware before we move on to practicing 5 different emotions. And then we're going to play around with morphing between them. And finally, we're going to take one and push it as far as it'll go. So to start, let's just come into our breath and become aware of whatever the breath is like right now. You don't have to do anything with it. If you want to, you can also explore taking nice, deep, full belly breaths through the nose or the mouth. And then you can expand that awareness to include your body sensations, your posture, and keep the breath there as an anchor to keep you grounded in the present through this whole practice. But right now, we'll just keep it there as we expand to the body sensations, how the breath affects the body. Now we'll go out a little bit further again to encompass what's happening right now. Anything you see or hear, taste or smell, and those feelings in that. You don't have to follow my hands either. Just become aware of where you are right now and what's happening for you in this present moment. So, now that we're here, we're going to explore the 5 sort of basic human emotions. And I'm going to go from sort of negative ones to more positive ones. And I'm doing finger quotes because emotions aren't really negative or positive. They're signals. They're just telling you something. So what we're kind of doing now is, instead of having a stimulus causing an emotion, we're going to try and act out an emotion. And you can observe if that changes anything in your body, your sensations, also maybe your thoughts, how you feel. And I'm going to start with sadness. So let's try and get really sad. Maybe your face droops down, your voice might change a bit if you try and talk a bit to me. You might start taking, these kind of breaths. Or maybe you're quiet or sad. Maybe you just kind of cave in and kind of fold in on yourself, or you want to go hide or something. You don't want anyone to see you in this state. And then, let's go into mad, because sometimes when you're mad, when you're sad, you get mad as a reaction to that. Emotions can react to emotions, right? And when you get mad, you don't just cave in anymore. You usually start getting out. It's a good way to get out of being sad, right? You might start gesticulating, you might start pointing things, you might start looking more intently at someone who you're talking to. You might start talking louder, quicker, looking around. It's a more agitated state than quiet sadness. And now, disgust is kind of a lot like anger, but it's almost like you're surprised and angry at something. You don't want to run away from it, but you definitely don't want it near you, so you're kind of going back from it a bit, like, ugh, or like just, you don't want to deal with it yet, but you might have to if one of your pets threw up somewhere or something. And now, if we take that kind of anger out of it, we're just left with surprise. Oh, wow, I didn't know that was there. It could be a happy surprise, or it can just be a neutral one, like, oh, I didn't know. Oh, okay. It sounds breathier, I think, when you're surprised. It's almost like you're trying to prepare for whether it might be an angry surprise or a happy surprise. Either way, you've got air, so you're prepared now. And from there, we can go into happy. And when we're happy, everything kind of lifts up. We're not just coming out like with our anger coming at you. We're kind of opening up. We're not coming at anymore. We're opening to everything. We're opening our mouths. We're opening our eyes. We're maybe opening our arms. Who knows? Depends on the happy. So The reason I like to do them in this order too is because when it comes to morphing them, you can do kind of like that trick. You can do sad, and then scrunch to angry, and then kind of come off that a bit to disgust, open to surprise, and then lift to happy. So that was down, scrunch, back off, up, and open. You can play around with morphing those, use whatever words you like. And then for pushing one of these emotions, let's take joy again. And first, though, let's come back to neutral. And just come back to the breath for a few moments. And also maybe take note here that this neutral place is always available. Whether it's in this practice to put little spaces between emotions, or if you're doing this, if you notice emotions come up in your regular life, note that this neutral place is always here. It's always available. So now that I'm neutral, I'm just going to bring a little contentness into it. And you can hear that my voice changed a bit, even with just a little contentness, right? So with this little contentness, I'm going to push it to maybe a bit more delight. Oh, that's nice, isn't it? And maybe now I'll push it a little further into I'm actually happy now. Like, this is great. Isn't this awesome? Maybe I'll start gesturing more. That kind of happens when you're happy, whether it's a surprise happy or a more, sort of emotional, like, oh, this is wonderful. And you can push that even further and like start gesticulating more, like you're really excited, like, yeah, I just did something awesome. You might be a fist pumper and start getting those in, or you might be a full-on jump arounder. Or maybe it's almost like an emotional happy, like you're so happy you could cry right now. And isn't it weird how now we've come full circle back to sad? Cool, right? Oh, that's amazing. So you can push it out even further from there. What kind of actions do you do when you're happy? Do you dance around? Do you give yourself a hug? Are you one of those people who pats themselves on the back? I don't know any, but that sounds really nice. Like what brings you, what kind of things do you want to do when you're expressing happiness? Because joy is one of the things we actually express more intentionally than other emotions. We tend to react in sadness, anger, disgust, surprise. We don't usually use it as a tool to communicate intentionally as much as happy. We use happy to say, everything's okay, I'm agreeable, everything's fine. Like if you go into an interview, you're not going to go in angry, even if something does piss you off. You just want to communicate, no, I'm a team player. So this is something we're used to using as a communication tool more. But you can also think of those other emotions too if you want to practice them. If you want to practice communicating anger, that can be a very useful thing, because sometimes if you're feeling angry about something and you want to communicate that you're upset, instead of just reacting that way, that can be a useful way of saying, hey, we need to talk. Or if you're sad about something, there's a calm way to communicate that that's not as disruptive or isn't going to maybe halt the conversation as much as the full-on, that full-on emotion. So you can try practicing pushing all those other emotions and then maybe even dialing it back to see how far and how calm you can make those. Enjoy.
Remember that the only bad practice is the one you didn't do. So take a moment to feel some gratitude for the chance to practice today and for the efforts you put into it. Until next time.